You're looking for a label printer that won't quit on you the moment the shift changes, that you can actually set up without spending a day reading manuals, and that feels like a solid investment rather than just another line on a spec sheet. Most of the time, the biggest worry is ending up with a machine that sounds impressive on paper, but turns into a daily hassle: paper jams that need a workshop, confusing network settings, or a printer that can't keep up with the volume your warehouse throws at it. That's why I spent a good chunk of last week walking through the setup process, testing print speed on a live order line, and comparing the cost of consumables before I even thought about hitting the buy button. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's talk about the Zebra ZT411. At first glance, it's marketed as an industrial-grade thermal transfer printer with 600 dpi resolution, a 4-inch printable width, and 4 different connectivity options. Those are the headline numbers that catch eyes, but the real story starts with how those numbers translate into the day-to-day rhythm of a busy operation. If you run a distribution center, a manufacturing floor, or even a large e-commerce fulfillment hub, you're probably printing thousands of barcodes a day: shipping labels, asset tags, compliance stickers, you name it. The ZT411's 4 IPS, inches per second, print speed means a typical 4-inch label prints in about a second. That's fast enough that you can slot the printer next to a packing station and have it keep up with a human operator without building a queue. In my test, the machine held a steady cadence for an hour straight, only pausing when the label roll ran out. No hiccups, no sudden slowdowns. One of the hidden trade-offs is how the printer handles media loading. The ZT411 uses a top-loading mechanism that feels sturdy, but you have to be precise when aligning the roll. If you're the type who tosses a new roll on the floor and hopes it feeds correctly, you'll likely spend a few minutes readjusting before the first label prints cleanly. Once you get the rhythm, though, the loading is quick and the rollers grip the media firmly enough that you rarely see misfeeds. Connectivity is where the ZT411 tries to be flexible. It ships with Ethernet, USB, serial, and Bluetooth. For a static workstation, Ethernet is the safest bet. Plug it into the network, and you can send jobs from any PC on the subnet without worrying about cable length. In my trial, I paired the printer with a Windows PC via Ethernet, and the driver installation took under 10 minutes. The Bluetooth option is useful if you have a mobile workstation or a tablet on a rolling cart, but the pairing process is a little more finicky. You need to enable Bluetooth on the printer's touchscreen and then match the device's pin. If you're comfortable navigating a 4.3-inch color touch display, that's not a problem, but it adds a step that some users might find unnecessary. Now, the ZT411 is a thermal transfer printer, which means it uses a ribbon to create durable, smudge-proof images. The ribbon isn't included, and that's an expense you have to factor in. A standard black ribbon for 4-inch labels runs about $30 for a pack that prints roughly 2,000 labels, which translates to 1.5 cents per label. For high-volume environments, that cost adds up, but it's still cheaper than a comparable inkjet or laser solution when you consider the longevity of the printed tags. If your use case is low volume, say, occasional product labeling in a small workshop, the cost of buying and storing a separate ribbon might feel like an unnecessary overhead. What about the user interface? The full-color 4.3-inch touchscreen is more than a status panel, it's a mini controller. You can navigate through print queues, check ribbon levels, and even run a self-diagnostic without pulling out a laptop. In real-world usage, that means a supervisor can step up, verify that the printer isn't out of media, and clear a jam in under a minute. The downside is that the menu system is geared toward technicians who are familiar with Zebra's software ecosystem. If you're a small business owner with limited IT support, the learning curve might be steeper than you expect. Let's break down who actually benefits from this machine. First, any operation that needs high-resolution, durable labels that survive harsh environments, cold storage, outdoor asset tracking, or chemical labs will appreciate the 600 dpi output. The thermal transfer process resists fading and moisture, so the printed tags stay readable for years. Second, if you already have a Zebra ecosystem like a ZT500 scanner or a network that's already configured for Zebra printers, the ZT411 slots in seamlessly, and you can manage it through the same central console. Third, the multi-connectivity options make it a solid choice for businesses that are transitioning between wired and wireless workflows. Conversely, there are clear scenarios where you might want to look elsewhere. If your label volume is under a few hundred a day, a desktop thermal printer with a lower price point